Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And this is our first time going all the way to Halifax, Canada. And we're here with Q Review, which is one of the strongest and newest podcasts in the music world, LGBTQ music world online. And we're here with Kenney Fitzpatrick. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We are 4 days to my birthday and another, 10, 14 days to Christmas. I can't believe it's December.
Wow. Are you a Capricorn?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. I wasn't sure where
Yeah.
that cutoff was.
I think it goes Scorpio, Sagittarius, and then we get into, I don't know, queer. I'm good. I'm lucky. I know where I am physically most times.
You have been a pleasure. I feel like I know you already. You're just we've been following each other for, I don't know, I was gonna say years, but
Yeah,
um
it feels like it.
it does. And I just love it, especially with all things music in the LGBT world. You have just really seemed to have nailed it. So I would love to
Thanks.
hear I'd love to hear the story from your words.
Well, picture it, Sicily, 19. I feel like the Golden Girls at this point. This started for me. I've always been involved in music in some way, shape, or form, but not in the industry per se. My background is in education and in advocacy. Working in post-secondary institutes, universities, and colleges in Canada, and working with students across Canada and some in the United States, it's always been about looking at bands, looking at artists. How do you choose them? How do you bring them into your campus? Working with any of the pieces that kind of come through. It could be writers, it could be just contracts and that. So it was always about an educational piece, but I've always been very much someone who looked at your own backyard, looked locally, looked diversely, try to really kind of diversify the artists that you're bringing in. It's really easy when somebody says, oh, this band is coming through, you should have them. It's easy to jump on that, but it's a lot smarter for your own community to think about who you're representing and who you're trying to service. So it was always about that. And when I decided to move on from the post-secondary world, I had already kind of started with Q Review because I was looking at the fact that I was never seeing anybody from the queer community out there, and I was wondering, where are they? You can't tell me that they don't exist. That I know that they're out there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't seeing them. So I made it a point. I was like, I need to know where these artists are, and I need to know how many are out there, because I know that they're out there, and they probably are not. They don't have anybody to kind of like help them be heard or seen. So it started off as almost a research kind of thing, and then it started to snowball, and I started to realize, wow, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And if I'm going to make a career switch, this is where I'm going to go to. I'm going to help the artists in my queer community around the world, and just help them kind of get heard. And yeah, because there's so
Yeah.
much good music. It's like unbelievable.
But how do they find you? Do you find them now? Because it seems that you're very tapped into who's out there.
Well, at first it was me finding them.
Yeah.
And the moment that I kind of like opened the door a bit, and people and I will say that I'm not like, I wasn't the only one that was kind of doing this in a way. I think I was one of the first that really decided that I need to really get out there. There was other folks who were doing it, and it was kind of like more playlisting, or just kind of like, doing shout outs and stuff like that. And they were kind of going small. But having a management background, I just decided, no, I'm going to start firing the coal into the furnace, and we're going to get the steam engine kind of going. So like folks like Homobite, and even yourself and what you're doing. I noticed all of that was kind of out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, once artists started knowing that there was actually someone from the queer community working to give them a voice, that's when they started kind of reaching out to me, because they hadn't really felt it before.
Yeah.
Not to throw salt in a wound or anything, but we have a lot of queer outlets that maybe allegedly don't I don't think that they represent our community as strongly as they could.
Okay.
There's a lot of the big names that kind of get the push, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the rest of the community kind of gets left behind sometimes.
That's a good point. But because I notice everything is that you don't just put it in your podcast and posting online, but you actually really, you're very engaged. I guess that's what you're very when you post, especially on Twitter, which is where I see almost all of your activity. But you post and you include everybody that you're talking about in your posts with their profile, so that it really kind of connects to them. But I noticed that you're very engaged. It's very much a two-way street. You treat them like they're people on the other side.
Well, and they are, right? I mean, I grew up in a world that didn't have queer artists for me to connect to, and I was a music junkie, and from a really young age. But I didn't have those artists to kind of help me, through things. I'm a youth advocate. I spent a lot of time kind of reaching out to youth agencies, and groups, and I want those kids to know that they have heroes that they can see themselves in. And I think the only way to really do that is to kind of put the artist out there front and center, and the work that they're doing. But also at the same time, the artists need to know that there's somebody out there who's kind of rooting for them, fighting for them, and that it's not lip service. That I'm in the trenches with them. I want to be in the trenches with them. I'll grab a pair of spoons and play if they need me to. That's about as far as we're going to go in the instrument section. But it's, I think that they've had so much industry, again, and not to bag on anyone, but they've had so many opportunities of people telling them like, oh, it's really great, but we're not going to do anything for you, or oh, it's really great, or but you should hide your sexuality, that I think that they've just been starved for someone, and for a community. They want a community to know that they have a place to exist.
Yeah, no, that's what I say. I love it because that's where I always feel like we're well aligned, and it just happened naturally. Folks will often ask us like, "How do you find influencers to work with?" And I always tell them, because when you're out there and you're engaged, you just run into each other kind of by accident, and next thing you know, it's like, who is that person? Who are they? Posting and sharing our stuff. But the reason I say we're well aligned is because I think you see us as we see ourselves. We're just a part of like this overall experience out there, which is the human experience, but in the LGBT world online. And we just want to be a part of it. We don't want to be the biggest anything. We just simply want to, when we share a conversation that's about music, and then if it's an event in Toronto, we can tie those two pieces together through our profiles, and it means something. But what's good is that we'll always be able to kind of, defer and work with someone like yourself, because you guys are really focused and probably going to, as far as we're concerned, probably one of the best at what you do in music.
I think that, and what you say there about you don't want to be the biggest or anything like that. Like, listen, I could care like less if I was the star of any show. I got too much to do for that. And there's just too much work to be done. But I think, sometimes there is a little bit of, and maybe it's just internalized with some folks of thinking like, oh, they've been recognized here or they've been recognized there. I think, the best thing that we can do for each other, just like I mentioned kind of HomoBite, who's, one person who's a student who's out there and just trying to be a part of something. You recognize those folks and the work that they're doing, because somebody came before and somebody's going to come after.
Yeah.
And I think that, when you're working together, you find much more ground to cover when you just saddle up to a buddy. I wish it would be easier and we could all just kind of grab a beer at some point in time. That would be fantastic. Maybe in the days
Someday
next year, who knows?
Yes.
But I do think that there's such a strength in our platforms, especially when you let it go and you let go the means or the need to be seen before other people are seen in a certain way. I'm like, oh my God, that's exhausting. I just don't have that in me.
But it also plays out with you because, we're not all, you don't have to focus on having the biggest follower count, having 100,000 followers. And because we have been able to prove time and time again, that's not the magic that makes these things work. It's the engagement and the structure of how you're posting and just kind of your activities over time. But that goes a long way towards your posts being seen. We see them all the time, and it's just because you're doing the right things, regardless of whether you've got 100,000 followers.
Either that or I'm relentless, and some point in time somebody's going to take me out. No, and I think you're right about that. I think that there's a natural kind of what it's not even a need. It's just a natural flow of things that makes us want to have a specific amount of followers. And
Yeah.
you can have 10,000 followers. That God love you, good on you. You worked it, you got 10,000 followers. But if of that 10,000 followers, 7,000 of them are just crap and bots and they're not really doing anything for you, it's just a number that looks good. I would rather have the 3,000 that are unique and they're real and people who are engaged and build slowly with an actual community than just be able to walk around and say, I've got,
Yeah.
15,000 followers. I speak to 2,000 of them because the other 13,000 don't even know who I am. It's just, I think it's a rat race that we get funneled into.
Yeah, it's clear because you're not. I don't see posts from you where you're going, taking your photo and making sure you get enough likes.
Oh God, could you imagine? I struggle. You don't even understand. I struggle to do this just so that because it's your platform, and I want it to look at least some ways decent for you. I'm just not someone who, I wasn't even going to put my face to Q review until people were telling me it's kind of creepy. You're just kind of like this purple and white Q in the sky that nobody knows who you are. You might want to actually put yourself out there to make sure that people realize that you're a real person. I was like, kind of true. So here I am. It has made it much more like fun, first of all, and engaging for me to be able to talk to the artists but I think that was me coming from a background where I'm picking students up and I'm saying, this is going to be all right. Get out there. You're the face of this and you're going to have fun with this. And the students want to hear from you, to someone who's in the background, kind of then having to be out in front where I'm kind of like, song and dance. What do I do? Yeah. And even I have a theater degree from way back when, but it's a little bit different. And this social media world, I don't know how old you are, but I do know my own age. And I know that the social media world, I am not the demographic that they typically get to see on the regular or maybe want to. But we're here. That's fine.
You are the demographic. We'll call you the silent demographic. We're all
silent.
I'm over 50, and yeah, people. There's a stereotype of who should be behind that logo, but I'm loving all this.
I too I'm over 50, so there we go.
You are so much fun. I can't wait till. I've always wanted to go to Halifax too, by the way. So it's high on my radar because now I live on the east coast of the U.S. and it's like I can get there. I just have to make it happen.
It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. It absolutely is. I love it here, and I know it seems weird sometimes that this outlet comes from a small city in Canada. But with the technology and with the internet and doing things like this, if COVID has taught us anything, we can travel without leaving our home.
Well put. Well, I cannot wait to have my beer with you in Halifax.
We're going to have it. And you'll get some deep fried pepperoni, because I'm sure you probably haven't had that.
No.
You may not have had donaires or donaire sauce. Apparently, East Coast Canadians are the only ones who dig it, but that's fine.
It works for me. I look forward to it. But no, thank you so much for taking a few moments just to share your story and let everybody know who you are out there.
I'm so thankful for being asked to be a part of this. I think that what you're doing is fantastic, and I love watching it all the time and seeing kind of everything that plays out. I learn a lot about outside the music. You are keeping me like kind of in tune to so much that's happening that's outside of music, because I'm so funneled into music that people are like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and I'm like, really? So I find out through you.
I love it. Well, thanks again, and look forward to seeing you here.
All right, thanks so much, Matt.
Take care.
And it feels good, so good.